Now we have two parallel tracks. In track 1, there is a panel discussion on building strong, smart cities infra for resilient India, moderated by N.S.N. Murthy, partner and leader, PwC India. The panel discussion in track 2 is on reimagining PSUs for making India Atmanirbhar. This will be moderated by T. Radhakrishna, editor, ET Government. Over to you, gentlemen.
Hi, welcome to a panel discussion, Reimagining PSUs for Making India Atmanirbhar. I'm joined by S. Ramana Reddy, Vice Chairman and Managing Director of New and Renewable Energy Development Corporation of Andhra Pradesh, which is a nodal agency of for development of e-mobility and charging infrastructure in Andhra Pradesh. Another guest is Mr. Abhishek Agarwal, Head Information Technology and Chief General Manager of Energy Efficiency Services Limited, an energy service company of the Government of India, and is the world's largest public ESCO. It is a 100% government owned, a joint venture of state owned NTPC Limited, Power Finance Corporation, REC Limited, and Power Grid India. EESL is a short form, is a super energy service company which enables consumers, industries, and governments to effectively manage their energy needs through energy efficient technologies. Gentlemen, please welcome to today's panel discussion. My first question to Mr. S. Ramana Reddy garu. Sir, you started, this organization started, which you head in the capacity of Vice Chairman and Managing Director, 1986. With the help of government of Andhra Pradesh. The sole objective is to generate electricity through renewable sources like wind, solar, and on decentralized manner, and conserve energy in rural areas. The last 1 year, we are badly hit by the COVID pandemic. How do you see the scenario of your mandate implementing on the ground, sir?
Yeah, obviously the COVID pandemic has hit back every sector. So same is the case for Netcap also. So we are in the promotion of renewable energy sources. So we had the plan of making a mega solar parks, wind parks and hybrid power parks. So we have drafted excellent policy for renewable energy export purpose. So where they can set up a plant in Andhra and they can export power to needy states. So where they don't have much RE potential. So because of this last 1 year pandemic situation, so many people could not come and start their works as per time schedules. So and even after the pandemic slowed down, now people are coming. Still, there is a supply chain drawback is there. So they are not able to pull the material to the site, and as per time schedule, they are not able to proceed further. So now slowly it is gaining momentum, and even power demand also was very low consumption demand. So now every sector is little popping up and due to the little slowdown of the pandemic situation.
Thank you. Over to Mr. Abhishek Agarwal. Can I have your initial remarks on the panel discussion today and scenario what you have witnessed in the last 1 year?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Radhakrishnan, editor ET Government, and my fellow panelists. I would like to emphasize here the need of the PSUs and why Government of India decided to go ahead of PSUs. The major consideration of the PSUs was setting to accelerate the growth of core sectors of economy, to serve need of strategically important sectors, and to generate income, employment, and as well as to promote exports and reduce imports. And PSUs are expected to play a major role right now in the Prime Minister's call of Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is why we are trying to transform ourselves, imbibing best global practices, agility we are trying to put it, scalable technology we are trying to put it, and we are trying to embed the innovation as an integral part of our technology and as well as our company. And if we talk about the ESL perspective also, power is a sensitive and a strategically important sector. As all the communication, manufacturing, my data management, all my essential services are dependent on the power supply. And any malware which is coming into the system, which can abrupt my power supply for the country, for the people, everybody will get disturbed. As far as from the ESL side and from my personal view, Atmanirbhar Bharat is a much higher level significance in the power sector. And in the last 1 year during the COVID, technology was the main baseline for running the business. So this is the initial remark, if you talk about, I want to give here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abhishek Agarwal ji. Over to Mr. Ramna Reddy Garu. Sir, you have signed MOUs separately with NTPC Limited, a Maharatna company, and also Rajasthan Electronics and Instruments Limited, a Jaipur-based Minratna company, which both are under Department of Heavy Industry scheme titled FAME India as part of the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020. What is the status that you can see, sir, right now?
So initially, when we were signing this MOU, so all the parties, the NTPC, REL, they expressed that within 2-3 months they will start the work of executing the charging points across AP. They have requested to spare some sites, details of the locations, everything. So that was initial thought, and at the time of signing MOU. So later, after March, there was a lockdown and then pandemic. Then after that, they could not come back again to start the work process. And recently, last week, I have spoken to them, and they all expressed interest to come back and start the work. So there was a delay of almost 8 to 9 months practically is gone because of this pandemic. So now the government of India is also pursuing to go immediately and start the work to establish a charging point. This is a precursor for promoting e-mobility and to motivate many vehicle buyers, especially four-wheelers. So until unless there is a charging point on the ground, the vehicle owners, they will not be motivated to go and purchase the vehicles. So this is a precursor. Government has to step in first, as the DHI is giving so many subsidies like 3 categories: 100% category, 70% and 50% category. So they are coming forward, and now hope within 2-3 months we will complete at least the first 100 charging points in AP.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Over to Mr. Abhishek. Sir, how significant is your experience in aligning your institution's growth engine with the Atmanirbhar Bharat?
So if we see our country is getting more and more dependent on electronics, where I talk about the electronics is information technology, as well as on the energy. Indian market is one of the largest energy global market, if we talk about. And our demand, if we see any of the reports in the energy sector, like International Energy Agency or any reports, whatever they are publishing, it is going to be our energy demand will be going to be doubled in 2040. With this projected growth, the problem and responsibility is much more is coming on our sector. So the main responsibility lies in the producing power, reducing carbon emission, and mitigating the climate change. And if we talk about the ESL, our ESL organization is not a manufacturing organization, as you all are aware. We are a ESCO company. But what we do, we are delivering the efficient and reliable as well as the cost-effective solution to our customers. Be it for the industrial uses, if we talk about the domestic uses, from the larger organization till villages. So our stakeholders are very type of nature. They are from the largest organization, CEOs, CMOs, if we talk about and till the line of the villages. So we need to satisfy all customers' needs. So if we talk about the ESL, we have introduced the energy efficient concept in the country. Before ESL, nobody was talking about the energy efficient company. And we have started this concept in our country. We are trying to propagate this concept to everyone. And following the mission of our Executive Vice Chairperson, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, who has nominated me for this panel discussion. So we have successfully launched multiple large scheme under his guidance. We have launched Ujala, we have launched Streetlight, we have launched AGDSM, we have launched NMNP, and multiple programs we have launched. So we are transforming the entire industry, and we are playing a critical part in creating the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Say, for example, if I take the LED lights example, LED street lights we are putting, LED bulbs we have sold in the market. Before that, people were giving the LED normal bulb was costing around 240 rupees, something like that. Now, if we talk about, we are giving the bulb in 40 rupees, something like that. So just see, because we have given a leverage to our private players. They have started, we have given a large scale tenders where we are procuring number of bulbs, we are procuring street lights. People were ready to adopt the technology. People were ready to manufacture the technology. So we have internally what we have done as per the Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have generated employment, we have generated the indigenous technology, we are generating the manufacturing plants at our end. So this is what we are trying to do it. If we talk about the electric vehicles also, electric vehicles, smart meters, everything we have started in our India. So Tata is also tied up with us. Hyundai is also tying up, tying. We have given the multiple tenders, large scale tender, and we are supplying the vehicles, e-vehicles in the ministries. EVCI also we are coming in a big way. Electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So frankly speaking, where we have received the guidelines, timelines, and we are trying to effectively deliver. So this is how we are aligning our ESL organization with the Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Bharat concept. I think I am able to give you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Abhishek. Sir, over to Mr. Ramna Reddy here. Sir, are you exploring opportunities beyond e-mobility? I mean, in your radar, are you looking at any consumer approach beyond mobility from?
Yeah, from renewable energy side, Netcap is exploring a big major energy storage options. So in conjunction with Atmanirbhar Bharat and the support, the kind of incentives they are announcing. So we have taken up a big scale energy storage project, so that is called pumped hydro storage. So right now, so in India, especially in Andhra Pradesh, we have renewable energy surplus capacity. So already we have established a capacity of 8.5 gigawatt right now. So still 30,000 gigawatt capacity potential is available. So we have identified locations, prepared a detailed project reports. So that much amount of energy, renewable energy integration into the grid will become a huge problem. So until unless we have energy storage solutions. So we have developed we are going to develop a pumped hydro storage concepts. So accordingly, we have taken up a survey in entire Andhra Pradesh. So almost 33 gigawatt worth of potential has been identified in different places. So out of 33,000, which is in 29 locations, we have chosen the best locations in seven areas. 7 locations have been chosen, and we have announced we are going for making a DPRs. So the work is already started. So with that, in future, we can integrate more and more renewable energy into grid. So which will be in future useful for e-mobility as well as other industrial applications. So that purely we can reduce the role of this coal, and especially now coal also we are in shortage condition. We are still trying to import from Indonesia, Australia, and other countries. So in one way, if we add more and more RE into the grid by way of going for pumped hydro storage, so where in daytime we have excess solar power, so which we cannot store anywhere until unless if we have a pumped hydro storage plants in operation. So that's why 6.3 gigawatt worth of plants were under construction stage. So initially we are making DPR in 23-24 onwards. We will be going for actual construction. So this way, as a part of Atmanirbhar motives, so we want to go for reduced dependence on coal-based this thing, and also reduce dependence on imported petroleum and other oils. So we want to add more and more RE into the grid and use only RE power for future purposes like e-mobility and other industrial applications.
Over to Mr. Abhishek Agrawal. The EESL has signed 2 MOUs, one in January with the government of Goa and February Coal India Limited. Can you elaborate the significance of these MOUs that you have signed?
Yeah, these 2 MOU, what we have signed, we are transforming that, like I also told earlier also, we are transforming the entire energy framework in India. So we are trying to go for the renewable energy more and more. So if we talk about the entire energy pattern in India, we are mostly dependent on the coal sector for the energy. We are transferring this entire sector into the solar energy. We are trying to go, because once we are talking like my fellow panelists are talking about the EVs, because they are in EVs. So if we talk about EVs are also running on the thermal indirectly. In Delhi, if we talk about the EVs, we are running the EVs, but somewhere it is generating the pollution for us because we are dependent on the coal. Our company philosophy is to transfer on the renewable energy, where we are trying to implement more and more solar panels, solar plants. Like we have recently we are recently inaugurated the one megawatt plant in the Goa. So this type of plants are there. Then we will try to generate more energy on solar. So this is the basic underlining, you can say, platform what we are thinking to go on the renewable energy platform. We are also having tri-generation platform where we also try to generate the energy. We are trying to save the energy from that place. But somewhere here solar panel we are also dependent somehow on the China sometimes. So from the Indian perspective view, we need to increase the production capacity in India. Then only we will become the Atmanirbhar, total Atmanirbhar, where we are not going to be dependent on any of the countries. So maybe government may have to provide the subsidies to the solar companies or something like that, where we will have the more manufacturing capacity, as well as the implementation will be very fast.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek ji. Over to Mr. Ramnareddy. Sir, do you see a role of Fortune 500 companies in building Atmanirbhar for Andhra Pradesh, as most of the companies are looking at investing in India, considering India as their investment hub, especially in electric vehicles and e-mobility and electric infrastructure? Your initial thoughts on that, please, sir.
Yeah, obviously, so for any e-mobility, so we need to have a green energy source. So as I rightly said in my previous discussion, so where we have more and more RE into the integration into the grid, in those kind of situations, we need to have energy storage solutions. So there actually each project is costing around 5,000 to 10,000 crores. So to set up such a massive scale plants. So there is obviously a huge role of such a big Fortune 500 companies in coming forward and establishing energy generation side. That is one thing. Another side is in EV mobility sector, still we are having a problem of range problem. So each vehicle is not going beyond 200 kilometers. Now, whatever the four-wheelers available in the market. So range is the problem. Otherwise, many buyers are coming forward, and when they come to the point of how many kilometers for single charging. So 200 to 50 means now they are constrained in the range problem. So now this kind of big firms are role is required in coming forward, setting up of R&D, especially in the battery energy storage side for mobility sector. So if they come forward and establish a huge R&D facilities, and they can crack that range issue. So that means increasing the energy density per kg battery, and what is the amount of energy being stored in the battery sector. So this is the area where they have to invest a lot of money in the R&D sector, and they can come out with a good solution where single charging should be able to give at least 1,000 kilometers. So then that is one area, and another area is charging time. So now if you want to charge fully your vehicle, so you have to at least minimum 1.5 hour to 2 hours time is taking, even whatever the fast, ultra fast chargings are available right now. So there we have to cut short the time to at least 10-15 minutes. So then our mobility sector, there will be huge revolution in the sector. This is the one area in the e-mobility. And there are already experiments are going on in this one, this hydrogen fuel cell based mobility. So there also huge R&D has to be taken up and to evolve a best technology. And it's hydrogen, safe storage of hydrogen, its transport to needy places. These are the major areas where the role of Fortune 500 companies will be there, and to make India as a self-reliant India. So this kind of interventions are required from the big corporates.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Mr. Abhishek Agarwal ji, what are your major concerns at this moment? In which are the areas you think the India can do much better?
The major concern, if we talk about the PSU, like I told, why a PSU has been set up, and now why we are failing. So in between, like from 1960s when the PSUs were set up until this time, in between we have derailed the PSU. Some of the PSUs got derailed from their basic agenda and what is there, what they want to deliver right now. And this basic agenda, what is they have made the inappropriate investment decisions they have done. Pricing policies were not proper, like overheads costs are too much. We were having excessive manpower. So, and trade unions were running. So ministries have all thought about it. And now if you see number of disinvestments, etc. is going on. But some of the PSUs which are running better, they are able to manage their manpower better way. They are effectively managing entire platform here. Like if we talk about the ESL, we are working as a private company, but we are under the ministries. If we talk about, we are working on a very lean manpower. We are approximately having 600 people maximum, and we are able to deliver a 3,000 crore of company, 2,500 crores of company. So how we are able to run this? So these are the basic problem which we are facing in the PSUs, where big PSUs have become too much bigger, but they are not able to deliver the thing. And the basic concern what I see personally is that people are not investing. Not people means you can say companies are not investing much on the R&D sector, be it a private sector, be it a PSUs. So initially we should have invested a lot in the R&D sector. Even if you see talk about the IITs and all, also they are also not investing on the R&D sectors. So it is a 1%, not means you can say 1% also we are spending on the R&D sector. Where if you talk about the US and all the research paper are being published by the, now if you talk about the IEEE, there everything is related to the China or US or UK. Very few Indians you can see in the IEEE, which is the basic general, means the best general of the any of the R&D sector. If you talk about the engineering, maybe it's electrical, nuclear, any engineering, whatever you talk about, they are the pioneer in the IEEE is the thing. But we are nowhere in the league. So why we are not in the league? So this is the major concern. What I see is that R&D is missing. R&D is literally missing. People who go for the PhD, people who go for the MTech in the IITs, only if you see maximum 10% of the people are doing the research, and everybody is going for the US, UK, Australia, and all, and people are doing the research. They are just creating this thing there only, and private sector is also failing in R&D. But I must appreciate the fact where we were able to launch the Covaxin and all. So these are all the private companies, but in the technology sector we are missing. We are slightly behind. So this is the basic concern what we are having. But we are trying to support our partners whatever we can do here. Like for the smart meter also, we are trying to give the knowledge and how we are going to implement this project, because smart meter is also if you see, it's a technology, it's an electronic based project. And 25 crores smart meter has to be implemented as per the ministry in 3-4 years in India. And we are one of the pioneer company in this area. So we are trying to help our partners, whoever is doing the implementation and all, we are trying to implement whatever support the thing. But I think in the institutions also has to come forward, and government has to support some of the institutions for this.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek ji. Over to Mr. Reddy Garu. Sir, what are your major concerns at this moment, if any, and which are the areas you see that you can do much better? And another thing is, do you see role of R&D and academia participating in your mission going forward, if you can say?
Yeah, the role of academia and other R&D centers is right now the state governments are not in a position to fund for especially R&D sector, huge R&D establishments. So here the role of government of India should step in, and they have to incentivize this R&D sector, especially the upcoming sectors like mobility. So now we are talking of e-mobility. So that is not the only solution. There are many other kinds of mobility like CBG based, compressed biogas based, where Andhra Pradesh is coming up with a plan. So to use CBG, that is some compressed biogas, in place of CNG. So other than this, now hydrogen mobility. Now Government of India recently announced National Hydrogen Mission. So simply they have announced rupees 25 crores for hydrogen mission. So mission is huge with so much huge task. So that announcement of rupees 25 crores is a very, very minuscule amount for that kind of mission. So here state governments are also not in a position, especially in the energy sector, to spend much on the upcoming sector, where they don't want to take any kind of risk. They want to adopt only established and proven technology. So in these areas, so they should extend more support and to innovative kind of states where they will take a lead. For example, Andhra Pradesh, previously we have taken a lead role in going for establishing more and more of RE power plants like solar and wind. So those were high cost PPAs we have signed. So now we are reaping their burden on the overall discounts and grid. So other than this, Government of India, if we can come forward and giving more support, so states like Andhra Pradesh can take a lead role in going and innovating things with the support of central government and other international agencies. So in a right pathway.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abhishek ji, over to you.
Yeah.
According to you, do you think that a technology policy is very, very important for an institution like EESL and other PSUs?
Yeah, very much. This is the right thing. Actually, if you see what we are doing in technology, in PSUs, like I have switched multiple companies, I have seen the issues. We are reinventing the wheel every time. So a consortium has to be formed in PSUs. with the senior leaders. Like if we talk about the IT, some IT consortium we can create. If we talk about the EV, like my fellow panelist is a very senior person, we can take, means this type of people has to be in the some panelists. Like for electric vehicle, one consortium has to be there. For IT, like this, everywhere one consortium has to be there. And we should create an entire policy for all the PSUs. And the same policy has to be implemented and executed in the PSUs. This is the basic problem also we are facing in IT. I am just reinventing the wheel every time. So that is a, whatever you are telling, it is a must. Although government has also issued a notice on 25th this February regarding this, our data protection policy. But there, if you see, their government can make the policy, but implementation is a difficult task for us. So it has to come from the top-down approach we need to follow. So if the consortium is there, they have to push the PSUs. This everybody has to need to be followed in that case. So I'm pretty sure something has to be directed and created for this technology-wise platform.
Thank you, sir. Over to Mr. Reddy Garu. Sir, how do you see the role of information technology in NEDCAP and its objectives to meet, sir? If you can elaborate on the theme, if that will be grateful.
Yeah, so NEDCAP has many activities apart from promotion of renewable energy and other user-related activities. Like now we are framing one policy with the support of EESL, ESL subsidiary to effect, that is CESL. So we are framing one policy to distribute 1 lakh two-wheelers, electric two-wheelers to different sectors of government employees. So there, the role of IT solutions is now all electric vehicles are enabled with the GPS. So we can track the movement, track the kilometers, health condition of the vehicles. So that is one area. Even to manage this much massive program, distribution of two-wheelers to 1 lakh people, and simultaneously coordinating with users and the bankers and OEMs and service providers, all these. So we are using many different IT applications. We are making a special mobile app and a special website for the managing this whole program. So apart from this mobility sector, we have other compressed biogas and biogas programs spread across all over AP. So there, the databases and this kind of mobile apps, we are helping in generating reports and contacting with the users. And if they have any service request, we can better cater to their devices if they have any problem. Like previously in the last 17, 18 and 16, 17, we have installed around more than 30,000 solar pump sets, standalone off-grid pump sets. So then there we have developed a smart center where live dashboard. So we can directly watch from the headquarters and which motor pump is on and which is off. And previous month, how many hours it was run and how many hours, and what is the amount of water drawn from the ground level. All these parameters can be monitored from headquarter level. And if there is any problem in the pump set, and they can raise a request through online mode only, by mobile app or by calling a voice over internet kind of thing. All these kind of applications are developed for better service delivery and for better managing the program as a whole at state level. So these are some of the applications we have already under implementation, especially in the solar pump sets. And now upcoming is distribution of two-wheelers to 1 lakh employees. There also we are using help of the technology for better managing the program.
What is the status of this 1 lakh EV vehicle, sir?
Yeah, right now we have already preliminary discussions with the CESL are over, and they have in principle agreed. Now probably in the next coming week we will be signing the MOU with them, and we are in discussion with the different OEMs and what are the models available and what is the range, and whether they can extend the service over a period of 3 years and all other things. All preliminary groundwork is over. Now we are in the process of making a mobile app and as well as website. So users can go through that mobile app and register themselves and make a request for vehicle. And this is at ground level, and we are planning to launch on the April 13th. That is a Telugu New Year, Ugadi Day. So in the first phase.
What is the objective, sir?
So objective is promoting e-mobility, as everybody says, and another thing is affordability. Even if a person is using a two-wheeler petrol vehicle, he is spending an average 2,500 to 3,000 on petrol. So same amount if we can spare in the form of EMI, we can get a new electric vehicle. So there are advantages. One is air pollution will be reduced as a overall national objective, and you will have better riding comfort. And another thing is you will save money. So on frequently rising petrol prices, you can save some money. So these are the major advantages, and they can have better mobility, clean air, and all these are the things, advantages for individual.
So any budget allocations have been done, sir, on this?
So this is purely voluntary and market mode. So government side, there is no budget allocation. Only we are creating enabling environment. So where employee will be given option. So there can be 10, 15 kinds of vehicles will be available in our mobile application website. So they can go through and they can select whatever the model, vehicle number, kind of vehicle they want. They can make a request. This is the only kind of enabling environment we are creating. So right now there are number of vehicles are not available nearest to the vehicle buyer. Suppose if you want to buy vehicle, he has to go to district headquarter and he has to go to only one or two dealers network. That is one issue. After buying the vehicle also, now service is the issue. So every 3 months or 6 months, he has to go to service point, which is away from his native place, which is 70, 80 kilometers far away from this place. So he cannot go in a bike, he has to engage auto. So that again, he has to spend around 1,000 to 2,000 rupees to take his two-wheeler to service point and come back. So instead of this, we are solving this problem. We are telling OEMs to organize a service camps in each and every pocket of the area where at least 20 to 30 bikes are concentrated in each Gram Panchayat.
Okay.
So service delivery will be on time. So vehicle buyer will be having confidence that if my vehicle is having any problem, there is a person to approach me on call service provision. So service at doorstep. So here the concept we are changing is earlier vehicle owner has to take his vehicle to the service provider point. Now we have changed the scenario. We want to change it. So service provider has to go to the doorstep of the vehicle user and service the vehicle and offer the solution. So this kind of a revolution change we want to bring in, especially two-wheeler sector.
Okay. Okay.
And
Thank you.
in addition to this three-wheeler side, we want to go for a retrofitment, conversion of existing ICE autos into electric auto by use of retrofitment model. So the battery will be managed by battery swapping station persons. So there are many private investors, they want to set up a battery swapping station. So we are in the process of designing the scheme, and very soon, maybe another couple of months, we will come out with a clear guidelines and modalities.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Abhishek, would like to add on Andhra Pradesh initiative, 1 lakh vehicles with the CESL.
Yeah. So frankly speaking, I'm not that much aware of that project, but yeah, it's a good initiative, whatever they are taking, because I have read lots of things like we need to go for this type of vehicles and all. If it's coming in India and people are trying to use it, it will be brilliant, and it will be reducing our this carbon emission also will be less, and as well as our energy will get reduced from the export, whatever import what we are doing.
So your final words on the reimagining the Atmanirbhar Bharat for PSU?
Yeah, like my final, not the final word, but yeah, I can say India's biggest power is the soft power. It is like young talent. So if we are our young talent, what they are doing the word, or means they are doing the new world order from the Silicon Valley. Whatever they are building, it's a Silicon Valley they are building, and this is a century of the technology. So what we need to do to become a Atmanirbhar Bharat, or is and as a superpower, or a super, I am calling it a superpower. Atmanirbhar Bharat is a superpower. If I talk about, so if we want to become an Atmanirbhar Bharat, we need to concentrate more on the technology, and we need to increase our export of the agriculture and the food sector. Why I'm coming on the agriculture and food sector is that it is also dependent mostly it is dependent on the technology sector, because there is a code change involved in that. If we slightly go in deeper into it, our 50% of the production is getting getting wasted because of the missing of the code change scenario. So this entire thing has to come into the pipeline. We need to be technology. We need to concentrate on the technology. We need to concentrate on the exports of the agriculture food sector. Rural India should go as a food processing zone, and we as in the urban, we need to work on the technology to support entire thing.
Thank you, Abhishek ji. Sir, your final closing remarks, and has government of Andhra Pradesh approached NEDCAP regarding converting or using electric batteries for their state transport buses? If you can share.
Yeah, regarding converting APSRTC buses, we had elaborate discussions in the previous 1 year. So especially in the first phase, we wanted to go a massive scale converting 1,000 buses. It's not a conversion; it is taking electric buses on dry lease. So there was a discussion, and later on, so based on the advices and inputs from the market, and there was a steeping falling in the prices of battery prices, especially. So we wanted to delay for some more time. So that's why we could not take up that phase, 1,000 buses at one go. Now we are in discussion phase, at least to go for 100 to 200 buses in major cities like Vijayawada, Visakhapatnam. On dry lease basis, we want to procure. That is one aspect. And second aspect, even APSRTC is also interested to take a model buses buses running on hydrogen fuel cell based. That is another experiment they wanted to do it. So they are trying different ways and means. They are also in discussion with NTPC. NTPC is coming forward to extend support to supply hydrogen fuel based buses also. So this is regarding four-wheelers, especially RTC buses. Regarding other four-wheelers, government of India side, government of AP side, there is not much incentive on this. So only we have announced incentive in our policies. So those who are coming and establishing charging points, first 300 charging stations, they will get 25% of the basic cost. So this was the incentive given in our policy.
Can we see electric buses in Andhra Pradesh this year?
Yeah, hopefully this year by middle of July or August, we can see some buses in flying from between Vijayawada and Visakhapatnam. That is one corridor identified. Another corridor is very aggressively, maybe even before that also we can see between Tirupati Tirumala flying a very short distance of 40 kilometers. So buses will be flying per day 5 to 10 trips. So there they are designing a scheme. Already a model has been successful in that area. So now government is working towards that also.
So thank you very much, Mr. S. Ramana Reddy Garu, Vice Chairman and Managing Director and New and Renewable Energy Development Corporation of Andhra Pradesh for participating in the panel discussion. And I also thank Mr. Abhishek Agarwal, Head IT and Chief General Manager of Energy Efficiency Services Limited for participating in today's panel discussion, Reimagining PSUs for Making India Atmanirbhar Bharat, part of the National Governance Virtual Summit. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Radha.
thank you, Mr. Radha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for a knowledge enriching session. Stay tuned and keep tweeting using the hashtag ETNGVS.